Welcome back to the Creative Process Podcast with myself, Jared Klein, episode 79 for the viewers. Thank you for coming back today. Episode 79 is going to be an awesome one because we have a guest named Xavier. Am I saying your first name right? Xavier Murillo? Yeah? Awesome. Well, Xavier, welcome. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. I know we've kind of jumped through a couple hoops to be able to get this recorded, but yeah, thanks for taking the time out of your day to hop on and have a conversation with someone you've never talked to before.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out.
No problem. But yeah, first off, I'll start with saying, for the viewers down below, I'll say this probably later on in the podcast, but for the people listening, go down below, check out Xavier's stuff. His links will be down there. Socials and portfolio, all that designer stuff that's got to be down there. Those will be down there. So, yeah, Xavier, if you don't mind just introducing yourself for the people that don't know who you are, and then we'll kind of get into everything that we want to talk about today.
Yeah, awesome. My name is Xavier Murillo, born and raised in Queens, New York. Parents to two Ecuadorians that met when they were young, 20-something-year-olds, and named after my father. My father's name's also Xavier. So I guess that makes me a junior.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been at MLB for the past 5 years. It'll be 5 years on June 26th. Prior to that, I was at another creative agency for about 12 years. And yeah, it's been a dream being here at Major League Baseball ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, it's I've been following you for quite a while now. I don't know how long, but the stuff that you guys put out, your creative team, and granted the whole social and marketing team that the MLB has that I see on social media, you guys put out insane content. It's fantastic to see, and especially with the WBC recently, it was awesome to see the whole coverage and everything that you guys were you guys responsible with, like, running the WBC? Is that a question I can ask? Or
so what me and my team do, we run all the creative for MLB Las Mayores, which is a Spanish MLB, and all their subsidiary accounts, which are like Cuba, DR, Venezuela, and Puerto Rico. So we do the creative for them. Mexico does their own graphics because they have their own team, as well as Japan and MLB Europe. But we did all the graphics that you saw on all those channels. We actually designed the photo shoot backdrops as well that featured all the players and all the different acts that were excited to represent their countries.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. The whole thing, like, I think the last WBC that was, like, going on, I didn't really watch. I didn't really pay much attention to it. And then this year's, I mean, shit, this year's was so crazy. Like, this is the first one I've actually paid attention to, and it was like I never realized baseball could be so entertaining. Like
I tell people it's like the World Cup of baseball, right? And it's like I have a bunch of friends who may or may not watch MLB games, but when it's like PR versus DR or Italy versus Japan, they're like so pumped about this. And they're like, yo, can you get us tickets to this Miami game? Can you get us tickets to the Arizona game? And I'm like, every time I invited you to come to a fucking Mets game or a Yankee game, they diss me. But then anytime these, the countries that they're from, they want to, represent. So right. I love that part of, the tournament because there's so much more fandom and more like pride that, people want to represent for the countries that they're from. So that was great to see. I went to Tokyo for the first time, which was amazing. I mean, I said this to a group of Boys and Girls Club that I spoke to about a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, I really never thought that art would take me this far or take me to Tokyo. Like, as a graphic designer, we're always just behind the computers, listening to some cool music and just doing our shit.
Right.
And I was just like so excited to go to Tokyo because, one, I'd never been there. Two, I've always wanted to see what the Tokyo Dome was like and see what the fans were like. I've only heard stories. And so being at the game and seeing them play the Czech Republic, they treat baseball like golf or tennis. Like when Shohei Ohtani was pitching, it's like, shh, quiet. And the whole stadium was quiet. And then when it was the Japan's team to come up to bat, they have songs for every player. So they're chanting different songs for,
it's like soccer,
all the players. Yeah, it's insane. And what I love most is like everybody's in their seats to watch the game. Nobody's running to get food or go to the bathroom. Like, they do that in between innings, but they're so quick and they're so organized. I was just like, what? I mean, the food in general, like you can have crepes, ramen, sushi. You could have they had hot dogs and tacos. It was like a myriad of so many different types of food that they sold at the stadium. So it was a lot of fun to see that. Get great to see and meet all the players that are from the Japan team, the Australia team, and then just have them be so excited to do these photo shoots that we were kind of running, which was a lot of fun because these photo shoots they go to the clubs, they go to the players, and then they obviously they land on the MLB channels. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're a doctor in the Czech Republic and you're playing on this team, you don't think like, wait, you want to take a photo of me? Why? I'm just like a third baseman, but
Right.
they get excited. We have music in the background. I'm telling them to just relax, giving like your sexy pose. But it was a lot of fun to see that.
That definitely was like the craziest story. Like I recognized a handful of like the Czech Republic names, like Eric Sogard. There's this guy on this team named Ashton McGee that I recognized. But like other than maybe a handful, it was like I don't know who these guys are. And then they did that, like they gave all this information on him, and like this dude's a dentist, this dude's like like you said, a doctor. It's like yeah,
It was like an endocrinologist.
It was like
insane.
It was like these dude like they're playing against Japan, who are like the best international team in the world, and with Shohei, who's the best player in the world. It's like just imagine. Yeah, I'll see you later. I'm gonna go play against Shohei over the weekend. I'll be back. I'll catch your appointment on Monday. It's like what?
It was wild. It was wild. And I was like telling my wife, I was like, man, we got to go back to Tokyo. Like, obviously, when you're there, it's all work, long days, early mornings. But there was so much that I wanted to see. Like, I wanted to go to Yokohama and see the big Gundam Wing transformer that they have down there, which is like an hour away by the bullet train. And I wanted to go to Kyoto. And it was just so much culture. And I love the fashion out there. I kind of got crazy and bought too many pairs of sneakers. Had to buy extra luggage just to put the boxes in there because I didn't want to come back without the Nike boxes.
Right.
But it was dope. It was so much fun.
Yeah, Japan is I have a friend of my wife's who's in the Navy, and he's stationed in Tokyo, and he said Japan is insane. The culture out there is just completely different than American culture, and he said it's just so fantastic to be over there. And yeah, that's definitely on the bucket list. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but it's on the bucket list for sure.
It was dope. And then even going from there to the finals and seeing, Lone Depot Park just like erupting with so much, excitement and cheers from all these different fans from around the world. It was great. It was like, what baseball should feel like on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
And then even going to Mexico for the Mexico City series, like this is a jersey from actually one of the Diablos Rojos that play in the stadium where the Giants and the Padres played. And even they get like so crazy, and they have all these, chants, and they just have these really cool like noisemakers that they're, slinging around. They're all wearing like the lucha libre masks, and it's like, damn, this is cool, man. Like this is what makes baseball fun, like the environment. No matter if their teams are like up or down, like they're just still there to watch the whole game.
Right. Yeah. Like the crazy thing, like for me about baseball, like, yeah, you have all these international players, but like we see, the MLB. The MLB is the best baseball league in the world. Well, I would say best baseball league in the world. Obviously, Korea and Japan have good leagues too, but it's like arguably the best league in the world, and all these international players want to come here and play. So it's like you think like baseball is so like American, to where like now something like this comes to fruition, and it's like, no, baseball's everywhere, man. Like baseball's popular in places you never would expect it to be popular.
It's crazy because I didn't even see like I was like knee deep in just the work, and I missed like the qualifying matches. I didn't even know like Argentina had a baseball team, or Pakistan, or Brazil. And those are the teams that didn't make it. And I was like, what? So I was just like, I can't wait for 2026 or is it 2025? One of those. Just because I want to see more of these teams and more of the countries kind of participate in it. Right. And then you start seeing like the fandom grow. Just like the World Cup, like that's the best way for me to describe it. It's like it's the World Cup of baseball.
One last thing before I kind of move on to something else. The crazy thing was that, so I used to work, my last job was with a minor league team, affiliated in the Milwaukee Brewers. They're local here in Appleton. And one guy, actually a couple guys on the team this year, one for Australia and one for Venezuela, like they played with on the WBC teams, and like they're like single A dudes going up and like bumping elbows with like the dude from Venezuela. He was a pitcher, so like he met like and talked with like Salvi and like Miguel Cabrera, and like for a single A dude, that's insane. Like you never would expect that. Like
Crazy.
oh, and the guy from Australia was Alex Hall, and he actually had a really good series in Tokyo. I think he had a double, couple home runs, played actually really well for Australia, and yeah, he came back and I asked him about it, and he said it was just like the craziest experience of all time. Like never would have guessed it. It's like
wild. And I know that there was like a couple of like tweets or comments on like some of those the wires where it was like a lot of players are considering this to be more coveted than the World Series, and it's like, probably more than half of the players that play MLB baseball won't see a World Series because it's just that hard to get to, to that level. So like you play for this country piece that's like something that represents more than just, the game or the team. It's like it represents a whole country.
mm-hmm.
Like there's so many stats and numbers that, we were exposed to after the WBC wrapped up. And one of the things that stood out is like 96% of Japanese households were watching the final. And I was like, so 96% of the country was watching this game. And mind you, we're like 14 hours ahead or behind. And it's like, oh, damn, they're up. They're up this early in the morning to watch this game. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy to see how much it meant to the world. And yeah, it's something I've never seen before when it came to baseball. Like you see it every 4 years with the World Cup, but baseball, man, baseball's crazy. So how did you get into like where was your journey before the MLB, if you don't mind elaborating a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great story. So after high school, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do, and I think that can resonate with a lot of people. It's just like
right.
Sometimes I didn't have a dream of being a doctor, a lawyer, or anything like that. I love baseball. I used to I played when I was in Catholic school for like 2 years. And then when I got to high school, like the level of competition was way up there. I was my high school was like full of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Colombians. And I was just like, this skinny, scrawny kid, like trying to play outfield and just being, outplayed by just so much more talent. I went to community college for like about, 2 weeks, just did, what's that, like that generic study that people do? It's like liberal arts.
Would you say board?
No, liberal arts.
Oh, liberal arts. Yeah.
Liberal arts, right? Because it's like, it's like the default. It's like, oh, you know what, let me do this for a couple of weeks or months, and then I'll figure out what I want to do.
Right.
So I did that.
Or like gen eds, or like,
Yeah. And I did that, and I was just like, nah, man, this ain't for me. And so, being raised by a single mother, 5 siblings, I immediately kind of wanted to contribute to the household. And so I was like, let me just get a job. I did go to culinary school for like 6 weeks because I wanted to follow what my dad did. My dad is still a chef. And so I wanted to do that, and I liked it. And then after a while, I just kind of fell out of love with it because it was just like stressful. And I didn't see no like real future in that. So I ended up getting a job at H&M. And I loved fashion, and I always wanted to just kind of work in a mall, be surrounded by fashion, be surrounded by girls, be surrounded by just like all these different kind of stores. Like I used to love Yellow Rat Bastard. I don't know if they have a store anymore, but they used to sell graphic tees, and I loved graphic tees. And I did that for about 2 years. And then my cousin, who's a little bit older than me, he would always go out on the weekends with some friends and party. And then one of his friends was asking him like, hey, do you know anybody who wants to be a personal assistant? I need a personal assistant. And so my cousin was telling me, he's like, hey, my friend needs a personal assistant. And I was like, cool, what does he do? And he's like, he's a creative director of his own, shop. And I was like, what's that? He was like, I don't know, it's graphic design. It's something to do with computers. And I was like, I don't know shit about computers, man. And so he was like, just go, it's in Manhattan. And so for me and anybody who's, from Queens, when you think about Manhattan, it's like, it's a whole nother world because I'm in this bubble living in, Jamaica, Queens, where I just know my friends, my family, and that's all I know. And then when I had the opportunity to say, oh yeah, I can work in Manhattan, I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this. And so I went, I checked it out. It was a really cool office space, laid back. They shared office space with a marketing company, a promotional company, and a printing company. And then this guy and his team was the graphic team. So I started out, picking up boxes, dropping off checks, and just kind of, doing all this kind of like menial work to just kind of take it off the hands of the creative director. And then I had, started to figure out like, all right, I gotta make more money. I just got a girlfriend, dates aren't cheap anymore. I wanna take her out to nice things. I need to make more money. But I knew that I couldn't just ask for a raise while still doing the same thing that I was doing.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I gotta figure something out. And at night I would stay in the office till probably like 10, 11, almost midnight, just hanging out because the environment was so cool. um I would jump on the computer and jump on MySpace and just start trying to redesign my page. And the designer that would sit in the chair, he would leave like around 6 p.m. and he was a really tall dude, and he would have like 3 or 4 books to elevate his monitor to be eye level. And so one of those books was how to use Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of pulled the book out. I was just compelled to take it, and I just opened it up. It was like one of those really thick books, and I opened it up, and it had a bunch of highlighted pages. And I was like, all right, this must be the important stuff, because there's no way in hell I'm reading this like thick ass like
Right.
encyclopedia
Especially
of
about a
information.
freaking program.
Oh, crazy.
No one wants to do
So
that shit.
this is like '06, '07. and and so like every day going home, because the train ride was like from 23rd Street all the way to the last stop in Queens, was like about maybe an hour. And then to take the bus from there to my house was like another 25 minutes. So I had a good maybe hour and a half to read on the book throughout like the next couple of weeks. So
Hmm.
every day I would just go back to the office and practice these little things. And it took about maybe, I don't know, 8 months to kind of fully understand what I was doing and feel confident in what I was doing. But still wasn't a designer, and I wasn't going to tell the creative director like, hey, I learned Photoshop, give me an extra $500.
Hmm.
I knew that I needed to get better, and I needed to understand what design was, and I couldn't just keep reading these books. So I reached out to a couple of friends that I went to high school with who were now becoming party promoters, and I was like, yo, do you need a flyer? And they're like, yeah, you got a portfolio? And I was like, no. But how about this? What if I do your first flyer for free? And if you like it, we could start some business. So I took that approach to multiple friends, and they all said, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what you got. I started with like 3 clients the first month, and then I was charging like $75, $100 per flyer. They were doing 3 flyers a week, 3 different clients doing the same amount. And then the following month, it was like another 2 clients. Within 5 months, I had like 12 clients where I was staying up till like 3 in the morning doing all these types of
Get all
graphics
this work
for
done.
all these parties. And then I still had to go to work, and pick up these boxes of flyers, drop them off at this hotel, drop them off at a restaurant. And I just thought, instead of asking for a raise, maybe I'll just give myself a raise, and I'll bring this business to the company that I'm working for. So I proposed an idea to the creative director, and I told him, hey, listen, I got like 12, 13 clients that are doing, 3 flyers a week at $100 a pop. Do the math. Can I bring that to the business? I'll still do the flyers, and we'll split the profit 50-50. And he was like, yeah, sure, go for it. Do it. Let's do it. And I think immediately there, a light bulb went off in his head, and he was like, oh shit, this guy learned Photoshop on his own, and he's a hustler. He's out here getting business. So it wasn't like he saw me as a designer right then and there. He started giving me like small projects here and there, nothing too big, like a business card and whatnot. And over the next couple of months, I started to kind of really get better and, understanding, how certain things worked. And then he would give me like promo cards for like DJs from radio stations.
Hmm.
And then like he started kind of believing me after like maybe about a year or so. And he started giving me some, larger tasks. And then some designers, there was turnover. So then I would be in charge of like working with the designers and hiring them and, doing payroll. And so much so that I stayed there for 12 years just because I kept growing and my responsibilities kept growing. So did, my salary and all that. But what I enjoyed most is the people that came through these offices. So like I had the opportunity to work on a Kendrick Lamar poster when he was performing at like Irving Plaza in New York in his like early mixtape days. we had French Montana come to the office to do photo shoots with us. We were working on flyers for like Dipset and doing, radio jock cards for like Z100 and Power 105 and Hot 97. So I got introduced to all that and building relationships through that, which was really great. And to this day, I have, most of those relationships are still very near and dear to me. So I try to bring those contacts into what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
But then, at a certain point, I think in every person's career, you kind of hit like that glass ceiling,
right?
And you're trying to figure out like, what is the next step? And for me, I was a little hesitant to think about what the next step was, because all my life I was told if you don't have a degree, you ain't shit. So I was just like, I can't apply for a job because I don't have a degree. But then it didn't dawn on me that I had really great work that I've kind of accumulated over these last 12 years that could kind of, be like a substitute for a degree. And so it wasn't until like maybe 2015, 2016 when I just kind of started like, feeling like this was a job, and I kind of started falling out of love with design because it was the clients that were trying to like be the designers. And I was trying to figure out like, what am I going to do? What's next? And, I thought money would make me happier. Like, so I asked my boss for a raise. He was like, no, we don't have it. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, can I get a promotion? No, we don't have it. We can't do that. I was like, all right. So like another year passes. I'm still kind of there doing my thing. And it wasn't until, I met my wife now, this girl in 2017 or so. And, I was telling her all about, my struggles and challenges. And she was like, no, just get on LinkedIn and just start applying. You have good work. Like you can just share your work. And so I got on LinkedIn and I just started applying to different jobs. And, one of the jobs that just jumped out as like as an ad, it said MLB hiring social art manager. And so I was like, let me see what this is. And so I click on it, and I'm looking at all the responsibilities, and I'm like, okay, I do that. I don't know what that is. I could learn that. I'll figure this out. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me apply. So I applied, and in the box where it says degree, and because it always gives me like a little bit of PTSD because I can never complete an application because it doesn't allow you to go on to the next, the completion phase unless you put something in that box. And I was like, I don't want to lie. So I was like, let me put my URL in the link in the box and see what happens. And so it allowed me to complete the application. And then within 2 days, I got an email from one of the directors of marketing. It was like, hey, X, thank you so much for applying. Could you please, send us a link to your portfolio? Looks like this one was damaged or whatever. So I was like, oh shit. So I redid
there it is.
portfolio. I redid a portfolio that was like, that I was sending out to people, just like a mixture of like the music stuff, the art, the fashion, and some of the digital stuff. And I just made this one to be more sports focused. So a lot of like magazine spreads I did and all that stuff. And I sent it right back to them. And then within like another 3 or 4 days, they got back to me. They were like, hey, we love the work. We'd like to start the interview process, blah, blah, blah. Went through like 3 or 4 interviews, had to do a graphic prompt. And then after that, it was like, boom, here's your offer. And I was like, oh shit, I work at MLB. That's fucking crazy. And so I've been here ever since. Again, like I started as a social art manager here, just really running the creative team for our social channels. And my biggest goal was to elevate our creative to that next level because, no disrespect to like the designers that were there, they were doing their job, and it was a lot of graphics to kind of work on day in and day out. But it felt like they were just kind of, designing them to kind of get it out of the way and move on to the next task. And so, we created, we created a vision of what we wanted to do at MLB, and that was to really compete with like the NBAs, the NFLs. My mind was like, let's compete with like La Ligas or UEFA, like, European design is like so far advanced. Like I would love to compete with those. And so that was a mission. And I think, over the last 5 years, we've been able to really elevate our style, elevate our creative. From what I hear, different people on Twitter hitting me up, they're like, yo, we just saw what you did for All-Star. It was actually in my meeting for Inspo, and this person worked at another league. And I was like, okay, cool. We're definitely influencing the game a bit. But ever since then, it's been a whirlwind of emotions, and just, happy to be able to contribute as much as I could to the team and to MLB at large.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always. I mean, that's a crazy like journey there, because I mean, a topic on this podcast a lot is like, do you need a degree to be successful in graphic design and in social and marketing? And just hearing another story of, like, you didn't have a degree or have a degree and you were just like, hey, I'm just gonna work and establish a portfolio and get good work on my portfolio and market myself to the best I can. And
Yep.
and here you are now. You're like you're developing like industry moving type of shit within the sports industry, and it's like, and you don't have a degree. And I guarantee people would be like, oh yeah, he had to go to like some art school somewhere, had to have. But no,
And, and like, so like I always try to, take as many calls, as many, invitations that I get on LinkedIn where people just want advice or they just want to figure out how they can break into the sports world. One of the things that I always view myself in, because I was a graphic designer, I still design to this day.
Mm-hmm.
When I was reshaping my team here at MLB, one of the requirements on, the job posting was still a degree. And I had posted a job and I had probably about like 20, applicants apply. And there was a lot of college grads, and, it still seemed like they needed a lot of work on their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked HR and I was like, hey, could I remove the requirement of a degree on this position? And they were like, yeah, sure, please. It's your job. Do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the requirement out and I posted it. The following week, I had 300 applicants apply.
I was going to say.
And that in itself was like, oh shit, there is talent out here. And it's like, not everybody can go to college, or not everybody can, could go to college or did go to college,
right.
But like they have great work. And it's just a matter of like letting them shine and having an opportunity to just show the work. So for me, that was great, because I was reaching out on social media. I was like, who wants to join this team? Show me your work. And people would just start tweeting me left and right to apply.
Yeah. Like the profession that we're in, it's like, it's so visually driven. Like, obviously, like, you have to have like those soft skills, like those social skills, those organizational skills and everything to supplement that future success and everything like that. But like, if you produce good work and you have a good portfolio and you understand, design systems and composition and, hierarchy and all those other things like within design, but you don't have a degree, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter that you don't have that piece of paper that you want to hilariously that you want to put in a frame in your office. But like it shouldn't matter if you have that piece of paper or not. And that's fantastic that you did that, especially for like people from the outside looking in are going to view the MLB. I mean, obviously it's Major League Baseball. It's an insanely humongous corporation that runs a very successful sports league in America. And it's like, people's vision is like, why would the MLB not require a degree? It's the MLB. Don't they want people? Exactly. And it's like, and then you did that, which is awesome. I applaud you. That is fantastic. That is so good. And it's fantastic to hear that, there's more awareness around that, especially like within a company like MLB and with yourself. And that's fantastic to hear. I did not know that happened. That's an awesome story.
anytime I see on Twitter where people are like hiring, I see like different leagues like really reaching out and investing in social media sports and looking to get like some really good talent that are just doing fan art. Like we had an intern that we hired last year. He was like a designer that was just crushing it on social. And my team was like, yo, we got to hire this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, let's figure something out. And, long story short, he was an intern for us last year. And then I offered him, a position here at MLB. And it's been a match made in heaven. And anytime I'm able to recognize, talent via social,
mm-hmm.
I always feel like, oh man, that's awesome. Not only for them, but like even for the league, because when you're thinking about like, social media graphics, you always want to make sure you're a step ahead of the trend, or, you want to make sure that you're coming across with innovative artwork. Mm-hmm. And these people that are doing it on social are just crushing it. So anytime I'm able to work with somebody like that, it's just a bonus for me.
Mm-hmm. So to kind of round things out, as we're running a little low on time here in this Zoom meeting, what has been like your favorite project or favorite part of, working with the MLB? Like from your experience, what has like really stuck out to you that was awesome to do?
For me, I'd have to say the home run derby chain, like
I
created it.
I guess you may do that.
It has to be that because like being born and raised in Queens, like you're influenced by so much music, fashion, art, and one of my favorite groups growing up was G Unit, and I'll never forget when 50 Cent was on the show and he had this huge chain that had a spinning G on it. I was like, damn, that's so cool. And so when the opportunity came to design a chain in 2019, they were like, hey, can you design us like a really cool, Derby champ chain for the winner? I was like, yeah, sure. Let me just kind of, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking about, hip hop, thinking about music, thinking about who would wear this. And, inspiration came all throughout music. And I ended up coming up with this piece. And luckily, because of the relationships that I built over my last 12 years at my old agency that I was at, I became really close friends with a jeweler who just kind of, was great at what he does. He had these crazy hours, comes in at like 4 p.m., stays till like 4 a.m., and just burns the midnight oil. And so I presented him the idea of doing this piece, and he was like, hell yeah, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so seeing Pete Alonso win it was just incredible for me as a Mets fan. And then, continuing to elevate the design year over year has been amazing. And seeing that the league is now reinvesting in it and trying to do different, bigger things to extend the lifespan of it
Mm-hmm.
has been fantastic. So much so that different jewelers have hit me up. They're like, yo, can I do the chain next year? And I was like, yo, let's have a meeting. Let's talk. But it's been great to see the overall just, appreciation for the chain and what we've developed here.
Well, and it's crazy because you said it was influenced a lot by music, and freaking Bad Bunny had it on in your photos. that was insane.
That was crazy. That was crazy in
insane.
itself. And that was All-Star last year. And he was like, when we put it on him, he was like, wow, está pesado. It's like, this heavy. It's really heavy. I mean, those chains are like anywhere between 5 to 8 pounds. It's insane.
Well, it was so like you had a big ball on the back of it. You had like half a ball on the back of it. It's just like you're like lugging around a piece of metal, bro.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, like I was perusing your portfolio before we hopped on here, and that one project, like I was like, I remember seeing that, and this man designed it, and I looked at through the photos and everything. Oh, it was insane. That's super cool. I had a feeling you were gonna say the Derby chain, but
Yeah.
no,
No, it's probably one of the easiest because like the amount of gratification that I get from that is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
Yeah. Well, man, it's been fantastic having you on and having this conversation today. I know because of time limitations, we probably weren't able to talk about what we truly, well, not truly, but maybe go deeper than what we wanted to go. But fortunately, we were able to plan this and be able to squeeze this in and be able to have an awesome time. I thought this was awesome. It was awesome getting to know you and getting to meet you. And I know a lot of people that listen to the podcast look up to you and look up to the work that you guys produce at MLB. So kudos to you guys, and you guys are moving the industry in the right direction, and especially with that whole non-degree requirement. That makes me smile so much.
Hey man, I'm down for a part 2 whenever you're ready.
Oh hell yeah, let's do it. Well, yeah, for sure. Let's do it. For a reminder for the viewers, go down below. All of Xavier's stuff. I said your name wrong. You could have caught me on that, man. All of Xavier's stuff will be down below. Make sure to connect with the man. But as always, make sure you have a awesome day, week, month, whenever you listen to this, and make sure you tell someone that you love them. All right, we will see you in the next episode. Take it easy.